Hello and welcome to episode 2 of 5-Minute Mobility, where today we'll be looking at hip mobility. So when we talk about the hip joint, it's a ball and socket joint. So there's a few motions that the hip can do. It can flex, it can extend, it can internally rotate, it can externally rotate, it can abduct, it can adduct, and also it can circumduct. In trying to improve hip mobility, one of the first things that's good to do is to work on the smaller movements first, which will then set you up for the larger movements. To work on your internal and external rotation, I want you to sit on your mat, take your feet a little bit wider than your hips to start, have your hands out to the side, and just gently roll your hips into one is going into external rotation and one is going into internal rotation, and then change sides. So move your hips between these two motions, supporting yourself with your hands behind you, and just try to encourage those smaller movements of the hip. You can start focusing on the internal first, if you like, and really try to drop down and stretch into that position. And then you can look at the other leg and start focusing on the external rotation and really trying to drop that outer leg towards the ground. To increase that, we can then add our arms in to help us a little bit. So we can roll to one side and we can lift ourselves up to help enhance that internal and external rotation. Sitting back down in between each one, changing sides and rolling through. To start working on the flexion and extension of the hip, we want to come into a kneeling position. When you're on the mat, if you have discomfort in your knee that's on the mat, if you use a nice thick mat, or even if you pop a towel, a folded up towel under your knee, that should ease some of the discomfort a little bit. We're going to work in this position into hip extension, so lunging forward just gently, and then transferring our weight back so that this right hip here comes into hip flexion, and working between those two movements. You should feel a really nice hamstring stretch through the left side of the opposite leg as well. Just trying to encourage to go a little bit further with each one that you do. And don't forget to change sides. Once you finish each side, I want you to bring your foot into what we call a pigeon stretch. So we're going to bring that foot up to the front of us here. Hold on to the foot as we gently scoot our body back slightly, and then let our body sink down into this stretch. So we should be feeling a stretch through my left side here, into the back of my left glute. To enhance the stretch, you can bring your body down and place your elbows onto the ground and push back on that back leg to hold through here. This is quite a strong stretch, so make sure you breathe while doing this stretch and hold for about 30 to 60 seconds. Also, don't forget to do the other side. Thank you for watching. Hopefully now you've got some great ways to open up your hips and improve your hip mobility. Stay tuned for episode 3, where we're going to look at your thoracic spine mobility. Thanks.